Hello again. Today we're looking at Chapter 7, Lesson 4, which is talking about subject pronouns and object pronouns. There are two vocabulary words in this lesson that you need to know, and even more important than knowing the vocabulary words, perhaps even more important, you need to know the examples as well. So I have for you here the definition of subject pronoun along with all of the subject pronouns listed for you. And then I have object pronoun defined and all of the object pronouns listed as well. So I need to make sure these end up in your notes because otherwise you are going to have a hard time studying them, I'm sure. And as always, I'm going to pause here just briefly so that you can accomplish that. Outstanding. All right, now that you have those copied, let's look at how we use subject and object pronouns in sentences. And unsurprisingly, I hope, how they're used, it depends on what the pronoun would be doing in the sentence. Okay, so for example, a subject pronoun has to be the subject of the sentence, the subject of a clause, or a predicate nominative. That's it. Whereas an object pronoun has to be an object, a direct object, an indirect object, or the object of a preposition. Okay. In some cases, this might sound strange to your ear. There is a difference between informal English that we use every day when we're talking to people, for example, and formal English, which is what an English class tends to cover. So let's look at some examples here. I have on the screen right here, I have several sentences, 5 of them to be exact. And in these sentences, what we have is a parentheses, and then we're given a choice, right? A choice between pronouns. Which pronoun am I going to use to correctly complete the sentence? All right, so if we look at the first one, please, if we look at the first one, it says Jack and either he or him are reading about cowboys. All right, so what I need to do is we go back to sentence analysis a little bit here. I notice, for example, that my verb is are reading. And then I ask the question, well, who are reading? And that's Jack. So subject Jack and he or him, I have to use a subject pronoun. Jack and he are reading about cowboys. Now, we move on to the second sentence. The presenters of our report are Lori and, we have a choice here, she or her. But again, I need to look at the sentence. And what I ought to notice is this time my verb, here I have a linking verb. We've done those a little bit, right? And the linking verb is going to link the subject, which is presenters. This is my subject, presenters. It's going to link that subject to word or words in the predicate that are going to rename or define or describe presenters. So presenters are Lori and she, because I have to stick in a pronoun that does the same thing the noun does that I'm replacing. The noun that I'm replacing is the subject. I have to use a subject pronoun. Formal English versus informal. The favorite cowboy of Ned and I or me is Bill Pickett. Now this time we got something different going on. We've got a prepositional phrase with a compound object. My first object is Ned, right? See Ned right there, Ned. Okay, that means I have to use an object pronoun for this sentence, Ned and me, not Ned and I. Not for a prepositional phrase. That's the kind of thing that makes me yell at the television when I hear characters in movies do that. Anyways, next one. Ellen gave they and we, or them and us, some books. Our verb is gave. Okay, the subject is Ellen. Ellen is giving books. This is a direct object. Books is a direct object. And who she gives them to is the indirect object. So I have to use object pronouns them and us. Hopefully this is starting to make sense. And now we have our last sentence. Now she and I, or her and me, have to write our reports. There's my verb, followed by an infinitive to write, reports, direct object. Who has to write would be the subject of the sentence. And in this case, we've got two of them, and we have to use subject pronouns. Now she and I have to write our reports. Okay? So when you're working with subject and object pronouns, pay attention, do a little bit of sentence analysis to try to figure out what the pronoun is supposed to be doing in the sentence, right? Is it acting as the subject or is it acting as an object? And then choose the appropriate pronoun at that point in time. That's it for this video, pretty short, and I'll see you next time. Bye.